Welcome, everyone. This is episode number 68 of the Tesla Beat podcast. We have the king of self-parking himself with us today. We have Hans, our professional raver, in the background. If you ever need a dance, make sure you stop by his house. And then we have the lemonade maker, the lemon himself. No, I'm joking. FutureAza, Brian. So welcome, everyone. How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
What a week, man. What a week.
Yeah, things are starting to get real here. There's been lots of rollouts, invites, and all that stuff going out. And with that, so before we get into a lot of that stuff, so it's definitely been a big week. Joe always using Grok to make some cool art. The Tesla Beat podcast. Oh, and sorry,
Nice.
I do have to highlight this. This is a pretty big moment. So Joe made a one-off Tesla Beat. So maybe it's a preview of to come, maybe it's not, but it's quality hat. So thank you for being here and watching the podcast. All right, let's jump into it. Enough about that. So one interesting thing, again, I know it's kind of been the first half of the year, at least stock wise. I know for those that watch the stock pretty regularly, or more importantly, who have just, really, it's been a down year as far as like where it's gone. I think at one point it was down literally 40%. So this year I was telling everyone, I was like, actually, it's up 3% today, year to date. So I think it's, there's a lot happening right now. Tesla's rolling right now. And again, whether that's reflective of, because of all these updates or the Robotaxi event, there's just a lot of good things happening, I think, for Tesla right now. But they are finally up over 3%. I think this is the first time all year. It looks like maybe it did pass it a little bit earlier in July, but it just feels, this definitely seems like a good time either way. So thought we would hit that. But yeah, all right, guys. Joe, I'll throw it to you since you're wearing the hat today. But what happened this week?
Oh, this is crazy, man. So invites are going out. And side note, one of my friends that lives here in town also has a Cybertruck. He sent me a message yesterday and he got an invite. It's like, what? So he's going and he's already got his +1. He's taking his wife, so I'm not going. But yeah, here we go. 1010 is rolling out. So I think the ones and zeros are for the 1010. I think that's pretty cool that they did that. I think this is going to be one of those events, and that Brian said last time, like 1 million people want to attend, but only a few hundred will get to. This is going to be crazy.
Yeah, what are your guys' impressions of even how either the rollout of the ticketing's going, or more importantly, just the excitement around this event?
I'd say the excitement is off the charts. The ticket rollout, who knows? It's like any of these events. My concern going into it was that this isn't going to be like Cyber Rodeo where there were 20,000 tickets.
Right.
Like Joe was just saying, King of Self Parking was just saying, there could be 1,000 or two, maybe even 3, but probably more like in the mid to high hundreds, and everybody wants one. So it's surprising to me to see the names that did not get tickets. And it's, I guess, encouraging to see some of the names that did.
Yeah, it definitely seems. It should be randomized in some ways, but definitely I would say, Joe was mentioning, the people that maybe have never been to an event are going to it now and stuff. So there's definitely a little bit of that. But yeah, I think it's going to be. Elon has alluded to this is the next Model 3 moment in a lot of ways. So it'll be really interesting to see, how things go. And yeah. I didn't get an invite, but not a big deal. I think, I have a work trip that week either way. So we'll see. If I did get an invite, I might be able to move some things around just given the timing. But either way, it's exciting to see people that haven't gone go. And I think it's going to be a wonderful event. I think there's going to be a lot of really cool things. The past couple of big events, they haven't done a lot of demo rides. So I don't know if they're going to be out demoing the Robotaxi and all that other stuff, or maybe they will, but that will be the really cool experience. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, either way, it's happening 10/10. I think we're less than 2 weeks away. So to
Do
probably
we get to hear from Hans, or who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add to what you
See?
said there. It is, one of the most exciting events, I think, potentially in Tesla's history whatsoever. I mean, robotaxis, I think, are bigger than the Cybertruck. They're bigger than the Model 3 ultimately. And so whatever it is that they reveal is obviously going to be extremely consequential. So that's why the demand for the event is so high, and I think excitement is high around that. And I just can't wait to see what all nuggets that they share and all the things that we learn.
Yeah, I'm thinking at least as far as the reveal. I mean, obviously they're going to be displaying, hopefully showcasing the Robotaxi, but I think obviously unveiling it, that's going to be huge too on what that looks like. And who knows? Because I think the slogan is what we robot. So who knows also too how the humanoid bot is showcased. But again, really, the Robotaxi itself is the robot. So yeah, be interesting. All right, so big week as well. I would say we obviously had invites going out, and Tesla's had published a whole list. Tesla AI had published a whole list of things that they're going to accomplish, and they are delivering so far on all of that. So actual Smart Summon, or what is known as AS, has been rolling out, or FSD 12.5.4, and I think even some of us have tested out. I know, Hans, you recently got it on your 2018 Hardware 3 Model 3. So, but yeah, so I think this is really exciting. But what are your thoughts on this? Obviously, even delivering on the schedule that they had posted probably about a month or two ago. Pretty cool stuff.
Well, yeah, they I think it was in the beginning of September that they rolled out this extremely aggressive timeline, and they have delivered most of it to, it looks like, 12.5.4 could go out to almost every vehicle in North America that has the right hardware for it before the end of September. And that's actually somewhat surprising to me. It seemed like they were going to continue to just do these smaller pushes of software updates for maybe up until the event, and potentially just after the event is what it looked like to me. So I was definitely surprised to see it go fully wide. I thought that, as long as they were validating the software with at least some customers, that they would just kind of keep forward or moving forward and trying to push the envelope on the development side. We still have a couple of things that obviously haven't been delivered yet. So that's full FSD on Cybertruck, and I don't think we have the highway stack integrated yet. Those were things that were supposed to be delivered in September. But even if those things slip into October, like the amount of stuff that they've already delivered, I think is a huge win when you understand how hard it is to ship software on time. And it really does just go back to, man, Ashok has an incredible track record with timelines on software delivery. And so it will definitely be a feather in his cap. Even, we've still got 2 weeks left before the 1010 event, and 5 weeks left before the end of October for some of the other things that they put on that timeline as well. And so you just had to give huge props to the team. I think that people underestimate the magnitude of the feature set that is being rolled out right now. Like, actually, Smart Summon is a huge piece of software to roll out to the entire fleet. So to be doing that at the same time that they're also shipping no nag driver monitoring to the whole fleet in North America, like, that's really hard to do two of those things at the same time. And then to say, hey, we're also going to try and put, full self-driving on the Cybertruck, and add in that you can use no nag driver monitoring with sunglasses. Like, the quantity of, major features that they're rolling out is very, very large. And it's extremely encouraging because, we've had this last 4 months to 6 months of very limited progress in wide release deployments. Like, we could see that the team was making progress. We could see that Omar was getting regular updates. We knew that the software was moving forward, but we just didn't know if the quality on those improvements was good enough to actually be rolled out to the whole fleet, or if the only reason that it wasn't going to the fleet was that it really wasn't able to meet that high quality bar. So to see that 12.5.4 reaches the bar of quality to be rolled out to the whole thing, that's a huge piece of reassurance that all the progress that we've been seeing just from afar online has been progress that we can actually get into the hands of customers, even though it's a little bit delayed, like in a pretty reasonable, the amount of features that we're getting, even after 6 months worth of delay, that's major progress. That means that even though we didn't feel the progress for the last 6 months, that progress was real progress. And it's just really cool to see where we're at right now. And then I guess the last thing I would say on that is that, and yes, hardware 3 is included in the continued updates of the software with minimal delays.
So I would say to all of that is correct. When Tesla AI, the X account, came out and said, look, here's the roadmap, it was ambitious. And a lot of people said, hey, Tesla's known for overhyping. No. There's one person at Tesla who's known for overhyping, and this department has to answer to him. So those were all things that they saw in their pipeline. They knew they were validating them at the time. And I looked at that list and said, my gosh, if they hit it, this is going to be insane. And really, the only thing to the consumer that you'll notice is the lack of FSD on the Cybertruck. And we've still got 3 days. So maybe 3.5-ish. I was asked, is it just a party trick? Is Summon just a party trick? Well, kind of. It's a byproduct. It's another missing piece that you need to get to level 4, level 5 autonomy. And without that, you can't have it. You have to be able to have that piece. But it does come across as a party trick. Just like if you want a vehicle with a big battery, you're going to get a lot of power. The side effect is the power. The big battery is what you need for range. I went down to a Tesla event last night at the Tigard, Oregon location to give a little presentation. They were doing an end of quarter test drive event. And my buddy Scott came down. He drove me there. He said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and subscribe to FSD because I've heard all the hype. He didn't get 12.5.4. He was on 12.3.6, and it was fine. It wasn't what he was hoping for, but I would still argue that 12.5.4 is wide. I am happy to give that one a check off on the list. These were big moves, and I'm very excited for Q1 when regulatory approval should come in China and Europe, not because it'll shock the world, but because it'll open up new revenue streams. And with when you sell FSD, you can only count part of it until it's done. But when you sell FSD subscriptions, you count those as cash right now because they're real. And when the month ends, it's up.
Joe.
No, yeah, that's a good call out from everyone. I'm just looking at like everyone said, I mean, this is a lot of work to have to put out in just a short amount of time. I mean, of course, they've been working on it forever, but just to know that they set this up and then they were like, yeah, we're going to hit these, and then they're hitting them. It's pretty insane. So yeah, the self-parking is pretty dope on the Cybertruck. I mean, everything is just incredible. For people who have the Cybertruck, you already know that even in cruise control, it responds to the stoplights and it does all this stuff that it shouldn't be doing in that mode, but it does all these things that you can tell it's pretty evident that FSD is going to work really well on it. So I'm just really excited for the future.
Yeah, what's interesting, right? So we're less than 2 weeks before this Robotaxi event, and I thought what I love about what Tesla's doing, they are doing a good job hyping it as far as like rolling into this event. They dropped self-parking or auto park specifically for the Cybertruck. That thing has been backing in. I mean, it only backs in pretty much. But it does a really good job. I mean, there's been some times where I'm like, a little nervous as it's backing in. It's getting pretty close, but for the most part, it's able to do it. And then obviously now they're releasing Smart Summon, right? And actually, or actual Smart Summon. And what's interesting is a couple of call outs is that one, this isn't necessarily something new. Like Smart Summon is something that they had released 2-3 years, or sorry, I guess like 3-4 years back. It's something that we actually all had access to, I think, during early COVID, 2020, 2021. And they obviously removed it because Elon removed the radars. He wanted to get rid of the radars. And so there was kind of like this, pause. Like my old 2018 Model X actually still had it. You could still operate it. But I do know that, it was shut off for a lot of people. But either way, fast forward to now, you put auto park together, you put the fact that Smart Summon is here. I mean, you're literally talking about once FSD gets to the point where it's pretty good, which it's already there, but it's like, the level 3, level 4, level 5, whatever it is. I would probably say it's at level 3 right now, but either way, once it gets, 4 and 5, those levels, it's going to be crazy to be able to connect all of those things together. And then literally next thing you know, you type in a location, it pulls out of your driveway, it takes you to Costco, it parks for you. And then next thing you know, you do it all over again. You walk out of Costco, it comes to you, you get in, you package the car, obviously don't block a lot of people, and you're on your way. And I mean, it's truly amazing how they have, because we know FSD is going to take some time to solve, but they're getting all the bells and whistles ready to connect all of the dots. So I'm really impressed with, the timing is impeccable in all this stuff. And I don't think they were just sitting on this stuff, but they're starting to deliver. A lot of this stuff had been kind of talked about. I remember actual Smart Summon, Elon actually replied to me back in April of like 2022, talking about it. I mean, it's been a minute since Smart Summon has come back. But we all know Elon is, it's Elon time. Things are a lot easier in his head, and things are delayed, but they always deliver.
What's wild about that too is that we're kind of spoiled in the fact that these things are happening. Like we kind of take these things for granted. Like some people are like, oh man, it did this at this stoplight, and I did this, and it's like you realize this is driving itself. like we're just so jaded by everything that Tesla has rolled out that that we just kind of take these things for granted. Like this is crazy to think about that it's happening. That we've seen this stuff in movies for a long time, and now we're actually experiencing it. It's just like our cell phones and everything else. Like it's a full-blown computer that I do everything on that I really don't even need a PC for anymore. It's like it's insane. And we just cannot take these things for granted. Yeah, we get jaded and we look at it like, oh, they should have already done this already. It's like it's never been done before. Calm down, everyone.
The thing that I'm loving the most about 1254 is you can now go hands-free with sunglasses. That was always a choice I had to make. Do I want to go hands-free and squint? And the answer is, yeah, I'll do it, I guess. I just look silly and I don't care for it. So now, and it actually works. How? I don't know. I'm assuming it's wizardry. Do all the features work every time? No, not yet. I had a comment, and this is a comment I get regularly, saying, well, I don't want this experiment being done on a highway that I share with you. Look, if you're not using it, is it safer or not? It's safer. That's the only metric you should care about if you're not a customer is the person in the car next to you less likely to crash? And the answer is yes, significantly. So I don't know, maybe take some of that hate and ball it up and put it somewhere convenient.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is we can't really control the experiments that other humans are doing while they drive around us, such as driving under the influence or texting while driving or, watching YouTube videos and reading a book. Like all of these things happen all the time. And yeah, like we can't prevent other people from driving in a way that is unsafe, but these cars can actually help people to be more safe while they're doing all the things that it is that they're going to do. And, it's only going to get better from here.
Man, I love that point because, yeah, at the end of the day, shout out to the Tesla owner that I saw on the freeway the other day. Dude literally had, it was on FSD, and he had his phone literally in front of the steering wheel, just like so it can't see. So people are like figuring out, no matter what the situation is, people are gonna obviously figure out the hacks. But the great thing is that, you know, when you have a computer that is good enough, it's not going to be making the poor decisions of, you know, drinking and driving, being mad that they got pulled over, road rage. All of those stuff are removed. And so, and we're already seeing the stats where it's 4 to 5 times safer than humans even now. And so, you know, I think Elon is trying to get to that 10x, 10x, whatever the thing is. And so, you know, as we're driving more, you know, I think even some of my drives are getting really boring because, you know, sure, on like a Saturday when you're going from like basketball practice to home, you know, you're really not thinking at all about it. And it's just, it's crazy because of how good it's gotten, you know. Joe, king of self-parking. You're on mute.
So I thought this was like pretty fun. I mean, I'm not an analyst, but I happen to notice that they can kind of move the stock however they want whenever they do things like this. So, I mean, yeah, they're going to say it's going up and then it goes up magically. I was right. But I think when you look at when you read this article, Piper Sandler has always been kind of one of those guys who gets it. And I think as long as he's one of the guys who gets it, then he can convince others. And I think that's pretty much what he does is he tries to instill in everybody like you don't see it, but it's there type of thing. And you know what I mean? Like he's like our inside man, like kind of like how Gary Black is, you know what I mean? But this is I mean, I mean, we see the stock moving. It's pretty crazy, but it's such a volatile stock when you're dealing with so many retail investors in a stock and everybody has emotions. But I think what I think Piper is onto some things, and I just think it's pretty good when Wall Street pays attention. He's speaking. He's speaking, but
Oh, Brian, were you going to say something?
No, I was saying we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
you were on mute and you were just talking.
I was trying to be like Joe and just be on mute before. No, I'm checking. All right. So how do you say Cybertruck in Korean? Either way, it looks like the Cybertruck is getting certified in some of these other countries. Specifically, they're going through the procedures right now in Korea to essentially be able to sell it there. So who knows? I think this vehicle may end up, the Cybertruck may end up getting sold in countries, you know, that were not initially expected, like Korea. But do you guys expect more of this happening? I mean, do we even think that this is going to happen in Europe, or what are your guys' thoughts?
So more countries, absolutely. Any country that is willing to pay the kind of money that a Cybertruck costs deserves to get it. Europe is a trickier matter. There are some weird EU road safety rules that require like rounded edges, edges of a sharpness not to exceed a certain, you know, lack of radius. So I know in the Czech Republic, the gentleman we saw who desperately wanted and got one was able to license it as like a commercial vehicle, but he had to 3D print little safety edges for the truck bed to make it legal. If that's all it takes, great. It'll be trickier for Europe, but there's a lot of countries that will just say, we will adopt the safety regulations of another country because it's easier. If it's good enough for the US or Europe or whomever, it's good enough for us. And that's what I'm hoping we'll see more of is, well, it's legal in the US, ship it. So in the comments, though, I would love to see, does anyone know how to say Cybertruck in Korean? Is it pronounced different? It might be. Some countries will add a vowel to the end of something to make it a local word. But I am excited to see more shipments internationally. I want this. It's such a halo for a product, for a company, that I just want to get it out there.
Yeah, I think me and John were at a Supercharger yesterday, and there's a guy from the UK that was there and another guy from Michigan, and they were enamored with both of the Cybertrucks, right? But we were talking, and it's just a phenomenon, like you say. It's such a halo vehicle. Tesla was not intending to have to make 1 million of these, but it looks like their hands going to be forced to where they're going to have to make a butt ton of these, and that is an accurate measurement. So I just think it's like, I mean, this was not like this is not their super high production vehicle, you know what I mean? Like, but now like everybody wants it, and it's like it's such a draw wherever it goes. And I think a part of that tour was, I mean, that tour was like a part of that, like them, like, you know, gauging the interest and seeing who was all interested in all of that. So here we are, like the world wants the Cybertruck as ugly as it is, and how everybody thought it wasn't going to sell and it wasn't going to do whatever. And look at us now, like, oh my gosh, talking about laughing all the way to the bank. This is a crazy situation.
I laugh all the way to the bank. I don't have an account there, but I do walk in and giggle. It's very unsettling.
Hans, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I would say that I think this is a great way also to support demand for the Foundation series, and it is something that I expect. You know, to your question, do we think more countries are going to actually see deliveries of Cybertruck? Absolutely. I think that anywhere that they can sell at the Foundation series pricing, that they should try to open up those markets. I mean, even if you've got to ship it halfway around the world from here, you know, at those prices, it really does support the cost of the ramp for Cybertruck as we really move towards getting to that, you know, 250,000 units per year run rate, hopefully even beyond that. Because like Joe said, you know, I think that if we can get the ultimate pricing down around the $50,000 to $60,000 mark for the entry level model, which should be possible if you're selling well above 250,000 units per year, then the demand could be well in excess of that 250,000 units a year as well, because so many people want this. The line is still very long, even though, you know, many people who've had the option to get the Foundation series ones have gotten it, and many other people have they've opted not to purchase at that price. Once the price comes down, you know, the demand is probably somewhere in the millions at the $60,000 to $80,000 price point range. So, and that also means that, you know, the more that they can sell them internationally at the highest price points, then the better that is for their cost profile overall.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all the points mentioned. I think Tesla needs to continue to take advantage of the Foundation series. Obviously, I do think in the next couple of months, you know, I think as we lap this year, you know, they will transition into the non-Foundation series. So it'll be interesting to see, do they keep making a small subset as they go into these countries, or do they just fully transition over, which will be interesting. But I just wanted to say about the halo effect, you know, how the marketing in itself, how Tesla, you know, the truck doesn't have the Tesla logo, and they took it all over Europe. They took it all over Asia, and they're still completing those tours across the world. And I have some friends, you know, the Tesla owners of Austria, they got one, they imported one. And, you know, they're actually going to be releasing a light show of it, you know, in Graz, Austria, but they're driving it around, and I can't tell you how polarizing it is, and people, they just don't know what to make of it. And that's the effect that we had here probably 6 months ago. And we still even get, like, I had, you know, you still get that today. Like, I had a guy you know, by the local grocery store by me, he just say, "What is this?" He's like, "Dude, I feel like I'm in Back to the Future." And you still get that. And unfortunately I wasn't recording him, but like, and then, you know, I was hanging out with Joe, and he mentioned, you know, people are still coming up and they're seeing it just because it's so different. But now, not only is the look different, but then you let them drive it, it just becomes a vehicle that, you know, that they want to potentially buy themselves, or at least if they can't afford it, at least they've seen potentially what the future looks like. So I think that's the big thing here. And as we know, we talked about it a week or two ago, the Cybertruck is now the best selling EV truck of all of its competitors combined. I mean, it's been around for 6 months. And so once this goes to non-foundation series, the demand is going to be off the charts, at least for the first couple of years, just because of how backlogged they are. So fun times ahead, Joe.
Yeah, here we are, man. Like fun times ahead indeed. So, and now just to add to North America, here you have freaking the Cybertruck deliveries in Mexico began, and they look like they had a really, really cool day. Like you just kind of forget or don't even really think about like where it's not being sold yet and who doesn't have it until they actually get it, and you're like, oh crap, right? They haven't even touched it yet, and now like this is just another country that's going to be able to have it. And I think like everything you're saying like rolls into that, right? It's like the demand lever is just like crazy. Like right now, this is $100,000 vehicle and it's selling like these crazy numbers. Like once that price goes down and you can actually attach the credit onto that, like, geez, I don't even know how they're gonna make enough. Like I imagine that's going to be backed up for so long. But a question I have while you guys answer this is, how upset do you think like some of these other players are that were like 2 years ahead and people were like, oh man, they got such a lead on Tesla. And now it's like the Cybertruck just drops the hammer. Like that's got to be really kind of disappointing, I would think, to some of these other manufacturers.
If you look at the month of July, Cybertruck sold more than Hummer has sold, and August was bigger. Yeah, that's got to take the wind out of your sails a little bit, but you made a big, dumb, goofy machine that, we don't have enough range. I know, let's put 9 batteries in it instead of 1. Let's put a whole plaid worth of more batteries than the Cybertruck has, just so we can get some range out of this damn beast. I did have a chance to ride in a Hummer over the weekend. We were at a Supercharger, and Drake from the Florida Cyberfest, we were just talking with an owner of a Hummer who was there plugged in and charging. And he's like, here, just take it. Go out for a quick spin. I don't care. What are we going to do? Steal it? The Cybertruck's sitting here. And it was not for me. It was pretty terrible. Drake goes, let's load up. Let's give it a 0 to 60. And we left 30 feet of rubber. How do you do that? Where's your traction control, guys? So it's there's a reason people aren't buying the Hummer, and there's a reason people are buying the Cybertruck.
I personally think that, all these other OEMs are very grateful that, they don't have to sell more of these trucks that they lose a ton of money on every time one leaves the door. And so they are, just moving forward with plans to hybridize their pickup trucks. And that's what they want to sell volume of, because that's a platform that they can actually make a profit on. And they'll leave the pure EV truck sales primarily just to Tesla.
Read the room, Hans. We're bashing.
Yeah, I mean, Joe and I, months back, we were coming back from a trip or something, and we were up in Sacramento, and we saw a Hummer as well. And like, again, the Hummer is cool. I mean, this is like the cool, truck back in the mid 2000s, right? I mean, seeing those, Hummers come back, the H2s were probably like the coolest thing. It was kind of like the next Escalade for a minute. But man, I got in that thing and I got claustrophobic on the amount of buttons were in that thing. I mean, just not only the amount of buttons, like the guy, I mean, if you can imagine trying to like put on the lights, the front lights on your truck, like the guy didn't even know how to do all that. And cause it's so deeply embedded in the software, you go into the operating system, you have to click like 15 layers down. And the screens are pretty small given how big it is. So, again, like I think, I don't know if they wanted to bring it back to literally just lose thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars per vehicle on that thing. But I don't like the EV Silverado. That is actually a decent truck. You know, it's, you know, the fact that it can fold all the way down. I mean, I've had experience with Sergio's, who has one as well, and like, you know, it's a decent truck, right? But some of these other ones, it's just, you know, they're kind of like, here's your gas car. The Cybertruck is like way over here, right? And the Hummer's like one step away from the gas car, right? It's just an electric vehicle, but it's still a gas car, you know, vibe still, right? Like the Hyundai Ioniq 5, all of those are just kind of like that next step from a gas car. But enough about that. More into batteries. Utah wants a lot of Tesla batteries. So for all Utah, R Plus Energy is bringing large-scale solar plus storage to rural U.S. Solar PV modules will be provided by Elite Solar and the best solution by Tesla, while Sundit Construction will carry out engineering, procurement, and construction. I think it's kind of funny. It's like Elon has always said, he's like, all you need is like a corner of Utah or a corner of Texas to literally supply all of the U.S. But, you know, I think, again, one of the things that's interesting is, like, we all know Tesla for the longest time, they've been a car business. You know, one of the sleepers has been the energy and solar business. And, you know, I think, like, you know, we've seen this past year, like the insane deals that they're getting on these mega pack deals. But people are starting, if you have sun, there's no reason you should not be, you know, pulling the solar from it and then storing it. And so it's cool to see people wake up. But I think, you know, as natural disasters happen, or more importantly, as, you know, power outages happen and continue to be a thing, especially here in California. I mean, it hasn't been as bad because the fire season hasn't been quite as bad recently, but, you know, you want to be able to control your own power. And I think that this is going to be, you know, pretty big for people to jump on board with. I don't know if the panelists have any thoughts. Otherwise, we can hit the next topic. All right, Joe, king of self-parking, I'll hand this one to you.
Yeah, I thought this was really cool. So this is an article about like how per every 100,000, you know what I mean, like how often cars are stolen, what's the most stolen vehicle, and kudos to Mary Barra, huh? But look at Tesla way down at the bottom there. It's like nobody really wants to steal a Tesla. And the article highlighted the Sentry mode as a reason for this. I think they're seeing all those videos of people and things like that. But holy cow, like, well, even if you did steal it, I mean, you don't know how to dislocate the freaking GPS, and everything's trackable in the app. Like, you'd be screwed anyways. It's like that. The Tesla is, I don't there was like some company back in the day that used to track vehicles, and like,
OnStar?
no, Jack, something
Oh,
Jack.
LoJack.
Yeah, LoJack. Like I mean, this is like LoJack 2000. Like, it's, I mean, you have like everything. I can see like all the telemetry, how fast you're going, like what street you turned on. Like, I mean, it's freaking insane. So yeah, I don't think people really want to steal Teslas.
Well, and the other thing is, I've got pin to drive set. If you carjack me and I get out of the car, you can't drive it. I've walked away. What are you going to do? Just sit there, enjoy my Spotify playlist? I guess you could, but you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, getting there's that one handle Wham Bam Tesla. They have done a great job of, you know, really compiling lists together on, you know, really helping with crime. But I think that's the reality is hopefully more and more thieves realize that whether you pee on a Tesla, whether you key a Tesla, whether you throw something at the Tesla, it is watching you. And not only that, the cameras and the recording are getting better, you know, as Tesla continues to produce newer technology. Like my Cybertruck, the footage on that is, you know, so much clearer than my my old Model 3. And it really does help you fight crime. And so it's good to see that, right? I mean, there was Joe, you would remember this, but where so many people, there was an issue with Tesla's, the Model 3 specifically. People were bashing the last the passenger side window. So there's like that little small area where you can punch a hole in it and then pop down the seats. And Sentry mode, like I don't think, and I actually believe, I think Tesla had mentioned this. They never thought that their cameras were going to be used as a security system. I don't think that was the intent, right? I think it was for the driving aspect. And I remember we were pushing Elon. We're like, dude, we need Sentry mode. We need Sentry mode. Just because like it was becoming like every Tesla in the Bay Area at one point, it felt like it was like getting bashed in. Like my brother-in-law, and again, he was going to, you know, downtown San Francisco and Oakland area, but he had his car bashed in 7 times in a matter of like 2 years. Cause you know, he's got to, you know, go and be in the city. It's not like he can just not, especially with work and things like that. So yeah, it's interesting. All right, Joe, I'll pass this one to you.
Yeah, the Department of Energy is putting out a lot of money for battery recycling projects, and this is another one of those things like that I mean this is like years. This should have been done like years ago. It's kind of wild to see like all this stuff happen like later, but it's still not too late. Like that's the crazy thing about it. As early as, you know, some of these guys are like Redwood Materials and stuff like that, like they still, there's all these late players can still like get money. There's still room for everybody. That's what's wild about it. But yeah, you're looking at $3 billion in funding like for these current projects, and the companies that they mentioned are not these up and coming companies. Like the list includes like all kinds of like Dow Jones and like all these people that are just like, it's such a cash grab for them, but they filled out the paperwork. So here you go.
Dow Chemicals, I assume you mean. The reason we're seeing such a late arrival on battery recycling, we thought we'd have this years ago, is because batteries don't die as quick as we thought. Even an old Leaf battery, when it gets down to 50%, it's still a good battery. People pull it out of the car and use it in off-grid applications for solar storage. They'll use it, and even if the car's wrecked, they'll pull out the individual modules and rebuild them into an antique car. I've been to a bunch of different shops that do that. Electrified Garage will make you make your old Land Rover into an EV if you want to. They're just too valuable. You can go on eBay and see that even dead cells are worth more than the mineral content. It's only now that we're getting into substantial volume that it actually makes sense. So I'm not sad that it's taken this long. I'm encouraged because the reason it took so long is all good news.
Did you ever want bulletproof Cybertruck wheels? Well, they exist. Thank you
Aren't
to
my wheels already bulletproof?
Well, at least they can deflect it. So if someone doesn't have a great shot while your truck is moving, it looks like why not? So shout out to the Monroe Live.
These are for the Cybertrucks being delivered in Mexico, so that you know.
Yeah, well, it's a thing now. So it sounds like Monroe Live has got the first set. So all right, let's get into our upbeat. Well, I don't know, Joe, did you, or actually, you know what, Brian, did you want to just quickly highlight on how this event was?
This event was insane. Drake did an amazing job. He pulled this whole thing together in like 6-7 weeks. He was thinking, if we get over 20, I'll be happy. If we get to, and I said, if we get to 30, 40, I'll be blown away. We had at one point a volunteer counted 104 Cybertrucks on site. We had 78 for the light show. And it was amazing. We had vendors, we had food trucks, we had presentations. We did a heck of a job, and it was so much fun. And the vibe was just so positive. Everyone there was loving it. And I've got a couple videos coming up showing the off-road park portion of it. 25-degree climbs. You poke the trail assist button, and it's hands-free. It'll climb the hill for you. You don't have to know what you're doing. It's like bowling with bumpers up. It's so good. Anyone can do it. So this event was huge and wonderful, and it will be happening again. And if you're in another part of the country and you want a Cyberfest, reach out to me or Drake, and we will add you to the list of people and consider it, because we have, the ability to do it if there's volunteers around the country who want to get it done.
All right. The next segment is the upbeat, which Joe had this wonderful idea. It's literally, we take topics throughout the week and then just go and get reactions. So Hans, I'm going to put you on the spot. I have not actually looked what's past this. Supercharger by state. Look at this. California for the win, and then Florida and Texas. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I'm surprised that we don't see any East Coast ones higher on the list. I guess just, Florida. Well, Florida, I guess, is East Coast. So that does make sense. Yeah, the coastal big states are all going to be heavily represented. Texas is huge, so obviously, and now that we have the Austin Gigafactory, a lot of Teslas here. Great to see continued construction. I actually got to vote just yesterday on some additions of more superchargers, and of course, I picked the ones that were closest to me. So people, go get on the site, vote if there are superchargers that you need, or if you don't have superchargers on the routes that you drive. Get in, have your voice heard, and great to see we're just continuing to build out the best EV charging network on the planet by far.
Joe or FutureAza?
Yeah, I just want to say I think it's just a sign of things to come. It's pretty dope. Like I like looking at the red is what's open versus the plans of what's to come, and you can just see that they're just closing a gap on all their plans and what's in construction. So it's pretty dope. Like that middle America needs to pick up.
It does. I shared this chart with my followers and said, what state are you in and how do you feel about it? And the people who are in the states that are less represented said, I'm not sad about this. We've got a number that's appropriate. I charge at home, and when I go somewhere longer, the number's small, but it's on the highways. It's on the routes that we actually need them. Of course, we'd like more, and more are coming, as we can see. But really what this is kind of a map of population distribution. It's a people live in cities kind of chart. And I think it makes good sense. There's a lot of adoption in California, and that's where you need chargers for all brands, and especially with other brands starting to get access to the Supercharger network. It is better than Electrify America if you're in a non-Tesla, but it's not as good as being in a Tesla on the Tesla Supercharger network, but it's getting there. And there's only so much Tesla can do to force compatibility out of these other companies. But it's great. I'm excited about it. I have, very few location complaints, and I get to vote. So there you go.
Yeah, there's only one route that I drive semi-regularly that's like a long distance route where it really does kind of take me out of the way in order to hit a supercharger. And, that's living here in Texas, driving to Oklahoma City. But I think for most people, most routes, like it's pretty well covered. We're really just talking about now trying to chase down. It's kind of like the March of Nines for superchargers now, that most routes are well handled, and it's just a matter of kind of building out the experience for those last little nuance issues.
All right, Brian, we're going to put you on the spot. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Tesla Korea. Safety is Tesla's biggest promise, is literally what they posted. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it is the biggest feature of the car. It's got a lot of built-in features that make it safe. Things like the fact that it's an EV, things like it doesn't have gasoline, things like the battery makes the center of gravity quite low, but they'll go the extra mile. That little tab at the bottom of the new Model 3 door prevents the door from dislodging in an accident since it's a frameless window. Korea's sales are strong. This car is very popular, and I do have someone who's able to give me leading indicators on sales, so I can see at the end of each quarter that it is indeed remaining strong. So yeah, Korea's correct, and Tesla is the safest, and we know it.
Joe, you're on mute.
What do you think those zeros mean? Like, why would they? The Matrix code over there.
I think it's so. I hadn't seen the tweet on the right, the JIT. So it actually makes sense now. I was wondering, what is this with the zeros? Zeros is going to be for zero accidents, zero safety, probably zero deaths, something along those lines that you want. The safest car is a car that doesn't ever get into an accident to begin with, because it has all the active safety features to prevent you from getting into wrecks or fender benders.
I think Hans has got a better handle on this than I do. I thought it was maybe a cultural thing, that there's some like inside reference that I don't get, but yeah, Hans is very good at getting his hands on a story. That's why they call him Hansy Nelson.
Do they?
That says it right there on his profile, Hansy Nelson. Isn't that what it? Am I saying it right?
100%. 100%.
All right, Joe, you thought you could get away, but you are up next. Cybertruck saves the day in hurricane.
So yeah, this is pretty cool. So Nick Cruz posted that this guy is the only house on the block. I mean, we've seen this in times when people have the the power walls and stuff like that, but here he is powering his house with a Cybertruck, and then Cybertruck account commented on it. Power share saves the day. Like, this is, I mean, it's just pretty awesome, especially right now with the hurricane happening. For people who don't know what's happening down there in Florida, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, one thought is that the insane thing, obviously, depending on what the situation is that the Cybertruck, you can use the battery to essentially electrify your house while things are down. So it really will be a game changer, and it's great to see even this with the power share saving the day. But just being able to have access to this is going to be a game changer. So stay safe out of those. Stay safe out there if you're in Florida. All right, I'll take this one. Rivian pre-owned. I think this is great. I think that it'll be interesting to see how they price their vehicles versus even the used market. Obviously, there can be some discrepancies there, but I think that this is going to continue to open up an opportunity. Like, if you can't afford to buy a brand new Rivian, you have the opportunity to potentially buy a pre-owned one. And like I said with Tesla, when friends come to me and, hey, I want to buy a used Tesla, where should I go? It's really hard for me to recommend a place to go buy one, even if you are going to pay maybe a little bit more, other than Tesla.com. And the reason for that is because a lot of these dealerships have no idea what they're selling, or if you have potentially friends that are big Tesla enthusiasts who can tell you about how their ownership has been, it really is hard to trust it. So I think for people to be able to go and buy a Rivian directly from Rivian.com is going to be a huge deal and confidence booster, especially for the used market. Anyone else want to chime in on this one?
Yeah, I agree with that. Before he goes, I think that one of the cool things about this is just like with Tesla, right? You end up going to the source, you end up with a better warranty and all these type of things. And I just think like you say, there's so much misinformation and lack of knowledge surrounding EVs. It's good to go to the people who know.
Exactly. All right, Hans, we're going to put you on the spot one more time. BYD partners with Uber.
At this point, who hasn't partnered with Uber? I mean, they are literally talking to anyone and everyone who potentially could provide them with autonomous vehicles in some way, shape, or form. And they don't really care who, as long as they're trying, other than, Tesla, of course. But I think that's more because Tesla's not interested in partnering with Uber at this point in time than the other way around. So, yeah, I mean, but just add it to the list. They, whether it's Cruise, whether it's Waymo, whether it's BYD, I'm sure there's conversations with even, a larger number, potentially Hyundai, like all these, anyone who's really trying to compete with Tesla in the autonomous space. Go talk to Uber. I'm sure there's a deal to be had.
I'm on my way.
Don't give Brian the number.
Don't do it.
All right, Brian, I'm going to hit you with one more. Stanislas, I'm saying it wrong, but the owners of GM, the CEO is on the chopping block.
Of Stellantis, yeah.
Stellantis.
So what a gem of a company. What a gem. I mean, boy, you thought Mary was a leader. This company, what are you doing? Your biggest market is Europe, where you've decided you're not going to get serious about EVs, even though the mandate is on the calendar. It is absolutely looming. But of course, they're not going to renew his contract. So he's only there for another year and a half, maybe 2-ish. It's ridiculous. What are you doing? What is your strategy? Are you just hoping that technology gets so good behind you when you're not looking that it'll be easy to make an EV when the time comes? So it's an overdue move. What are you waiting for? I mean, maybe just cut him a check and move on into the future. All I can think is that the board of directors maybe shares his lack of vision.
Yeah, I think you probably hit the nail on the head with that one. I think you got a lot of this old guard in there, and I mean, when Stephen Mark Ryan had said this like probably like 2 years ago, he was talking about how what he foresaw and what I agree with was that not so much as these companies were going to go bankrupt, that they were just going to eventually just conglomerate and just merge and become and work with each other. And you saw that Stellantis was like one of the first to do it. And so they became Stellantis, and it was like, oh, cool. They saved themselves. But I mean, now you have the situation with the CEO and how they're really not making any real moves. And it's kind of sad to see that you have all of these. I mean, these are like some good names like Fiat and Jeep and, Peugeot and stuff like that they could have just electrified and been like, even if you would have like just done it halfway, you know what I mean? Like you still could have made some real money. Like, I mean, Mary Barr is doing it halfway and she's doing okay. So, you know what I mean? Like you could have just done it halfway and still been okay. But here we are.
Yeah, I would agree. Sorry, Hans, were you gonna say something? Oh, I was gonna agree. I mean, like here we are this week, and again, maybe we just follow Tesla a lot, so maybe we're again in this bubble. But like, when was the last time your car got 10 times better? Like my Cybertruck can now park itself. Yeah, can I park it myself? Of course. But now I have the option to pick a parking spot, and it will back into it itself. Like, and while I can just pretty much sit back and watch it, obviously be careful, but same thing with actual smart summon. Like that is, I mean, even Hans, you were talking it right. Your 2018 Model 3 hardware, your 2018 Model 3 hardware 3 got the update. And I mean, that's a big update for all of the Tesla owners because it actually changes your car. I mean, sure, yeah, you can walk to your car, but now you don't have to. And this smart summon versus the old smart summon is 10 times better. I can see it. And even the app, now you can actually see what's in front of you. It shows you what's in front of you if you're not close by. But I think that's really Tesla continues to set the bar. And yes, they are on the bleeding edge. And a lot of these companies realize, okay, we're not that. So we can always be the 2, 3, or 4. But a lot of these companies aren't even competing for the second and third spot. And especially as they continue to transition back to hybrids and some of these others, there's going to be a bigger gap and divide that's made. So, all right. I think that is it because I have a hard stop, unfortunately, at 9. But I did want to say shout out to the King of Self Parking for making this awesome hat. this deck this week. You always do an amazing job. Thank you to our wonderful hosts, FutureAza, Brian, and Hans as well. Please make sure they are tagged both on X and YouTube. Please make sure to go give them a follow, subscribe to their channels, support them, patronize them for their time this week. But we will be back next week. Stay safe if you're in Florida, and also too, we'll see what happens in the next week, especially as we get ready for the 10/10 event. I'm hoping my Cybertruck, unfortunately, I'm not part of the early wave, but I can't wait. Literally, I can't wait. Since I bought it in February, I've been waiting for the day that this truck can drive itself. So that's going to be a huge game changer for me as a Cybertruck owner. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next time.